Mr. Garland, why Jack Smith? Why'd you pick him?
Well, I've said at the time I appointed Mr. Smith, I explained he was independent. He was a longtime career prosecutor
But there are probably other people who you would describe as independent, longtime career prosecutor. Why did you pick, this is probably the most high-profile special counsel investigation, maybe in American history. You're going to be investigating a former president, a candidate for president, and leading in all the polls, and you pick Jack Smith, most important selection maybe ever made from Attorney General when you come to a special counsel. I just want to know why you could have picked former AGs, deputy AGs, U.S. attorneys. You got all kinds of lawyers in this town, but you picked Jack Smith.
All the people you just mentioned were would be political appointees. I appointed somebody who was not a political appointee, somebody who was independent, nonpartisan, with a record of career experience as a prosecutor. That seemed to me the perfect resume for making that kind of.
He was a guy, worked, had to bring him back from Europe. He worked at the ICC, worked at the World Court. He was the best pick for the most high-profile investigation ever.
He was independent. He was nonpartisan. He had never held a political office. He was never appointed in a political office.
Was he your first choice?
He had a long career as a career prosecutor.
Was he your first choice?
I'm not going to go into the questions.
Did you know him before you picked him?
I did not.
You never worked with him?
I did not.
Did you meet with him prior to announcing his selection and tell him what was going on?
Of course I did.
What happened in that meeting?
I met with him. I asked him if he would be willing to do this. We talked about my understandings of the role of this office, which are on the public record. That's all.
Did he ask for the job?
This was not a job I don't think anybody asks for. I'm sorry.
No, but that's not the question I asked you. I said, did Jack Smith ask for the job?
He did not ask me for the job, no.
Did he convey through someone else that he wanted the job?
I would be surprised if that were the case, but
Well, you don't know?
No, I don't know.
So he may have?
I can only tell you what I know. I chose him because he had a record of impartial career experience as a prosecutor. That's why he was chosen.
Was it impartial when he went after Governor McDonnell?
He was a member of the...
He was after Governor McDonnell. That case gets appealed to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court unanimously said it was wrong and overturns the conviction?
He was in the public integrity section of the Justice Department, a career position. They made the decisions they thought were warranted, and we respect the decision of the Supreme Court.
Did the fact that he was interested in going after the very people who were targeted by the IRS about a decade ago, did that have any influence on your selection? Okay, let's put up this slide here. This is from Jack Smith to some other folks in the Justice Department, and it says, could we ever charge a conspiracy to violate laws of the U.S. for misuse of such nonprofits to get around existing campaign finance laws? Jack Smith was looking to prosecute the very people who were targeted by the Obama IRS.
I don't know. You have excerpts from an email I've never seen. You should know that
IRS Commissioner Sarah, I'm just asking this way into your decision. Did you know about this?
No,
what Jack Smith was trying to do?
I also don't know if it's true now.
IRS Commissioner Sarah Ingram oversees this from Jack Smith himself. Let's discuss tomorrow, but maybe we should try to set up a meeting this week. And here's the response. Here's the response. You didn't get your meeting with Miss Ingram from the IRS, but she's sending the head of the exempt organizations, Lois Lerner, who's known to us. So Jack Smith meeting with Lois Lerner, looking for ways to prosecute the very people who were victims of the Obama IRS. And I'm just asking, did that factor in your decision to name Jack Smith as special counsel?
I didn't have any idea about the things.
Didn't know about that?
No, and I don't know whether they're true now by looking at this.
Well, they're definitely true, but you didn't know about it. But this guy was so important, you have to bring him from Europe back here to go after President Trump, name him as a special counsel. Do you regret the pick?
I'm sorry,
Do you regret picking him?
No, I do not regret picking him.
Well, prosecutors aren't supposed to tamper with evidence, and it looks like that's what he did. He changed the sequence of the documents that he seized from Mar-a-Lago.
I'm sorry, that's a false characterization, but that is ongoing.
Here's what he said to the court, Mr. Attorney General. There are some boxes where the order of items within the box is not the same as in the associated scans. I mean, he said it. I didn't say it. He told the court that.
Now you're asking me to comment on a discovery dispute that's ongoing in a court. I don't know the facts of it, and I'm not going to comment on it.
No, this is from Jack Smith filing with the court. He admitted to the court that they tamper with the evidence. He mishandled the very documents he's charging President Trump with mishandling. And I'm just asking, do you regret picking this guy as the special counsel in the most important special counsel investigation probably in American history?
I'm sorry, I did not hear the words tamper in the statement that Mr. Smith filed. He did not use those words.
Well, let me ask it this way. Are you supposed to change the order of the documents that you seize and the physical documents don't match up with the scanned documents? Are you supposed to do that as a prosecutor?
This is a matter in dispute, in discovery in that court, and I'm going to leave it for the district court to make a determination. After
I would just say one last thing. It's not in dispute. This is what he said in the court filing. Jack Smith's team said that to the judge in the court. By the way, this case is now basically on hold because they've screwed up so many things.
Again, I don't know whether your description of the facts are true or not true, and I'm not going to intrude in a decision in a district court.
Mr. Attorney General, we understand you want to break. Can we do one more 5 minutes and then we'll take a little break? Would that work? All right, the gentleman from Texas is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Attorney General, for appearing before the Judiciary Committee. I read a report recently that the D.C. United States Attorney's Office had only devoted 5% of resources to January 6th prosecutions. But I've also understand from many conversations that the most or all of the United States U.S. Attorney districts contributed an AUSA or an investigator to the effort. Can you confirm whether the department across the board has been providing additional support from other U.S. attorneys' offices in terms of AUSAs or investigators contributing for the January 6th investigations?
Yes, that's true, and that began before I became Attorney General. That continued after I became Attorney General.
So multiple resources across the department have been devoted to that effort, including other districts?
Yes,
okay.
Because of the significance of an attack on democracy in this body.
The reason I'm asking about that is in terms of the focus of the resources of the department. If staff would put up on the screen, there's a number of people here that I want to see if you can identify who they are. What we have here in the bottom right-hand corner is a woman named Lizbeth Medina. She was found dead in a bathtub in Texas. Her mom found her, hoping to see her in a parade that night. She was killed by Rafael Gouveia Romero, who was here illegally. On the bottom left-hand corner, you have Laken Riley. She was killed by 26-year-old Jose Ibarra, arrested by U.S. Customs and Border Protection after he unlawfully entered the United States near El Paso, Texas. Up above, you have officers Richard Uruso, 26, and Officer Christopher Abreu, 26. Both were shot this last weekend by Bernardo Raul Castro Mata, a 19-year-old Venezuelan national apprehended by U.S. Border Patrol after he unlawfully entered the United States near Eagle Pass in July of 2023. What we have is a continued effort by the federal government to fail to secure the border of the United States, and Americans are dying or getting shot. In this case, law enforcement getting shot, 2 young women who are dead. My question for you with respect to the department is, do you believe that Texas has a right to defend itself and to ensure that people who are in this country are not here illegally, and that we can protect the citizens of Texas from people unlawfully here who are committing crimes to Lizbeth Medina, who's no longer with us because the federal government refused to do its job? Yet the Department of Justice is suing the state of Texas to stop implementation of SB 4. So do you say, as the Attorney General of the United States, Texas does not have a right to defend itself and to protect our citizens from murder by people who have come here illegally into the United States?
I say, as the Attorney General and as a human being, that my heart goes out to the families, that these are terrible, terrible events. And I say, secondly, as the Attorney General, the way to stop people like this from coming into the United States is to give more resources to the Border Patrol so that they can prevent
Mr. Attorney General, no.
You don't want
we the people of Texas, money's not going to solve the problem when the Department of Homeland Security and the President of the United States refuse to enforce the law, ignore the policies, and Lizbeth Medina would be here alive today if we were following the law. Laken Riley would be here today if we had not released a killer onto the streets of the United States of America through parole policies that this administration is advancing. And the Department of Justice is suing the state of Texas in court, taking valuable resources to go against the people of Texas when Texas simply wants to say that we should have a say in stopping people who are illegally, arrest them, and be able to deal with that on our own terms when the federal government refuses to do its job.
As reflected in our filings in that case, We are in court because the United States Supreme Court in Arizona versus the United States held that states cannot adopt their own immigration.
You're in court because you're
deportation.
choosing to try to stop Texas from enforcing the laws that
Not a
the federal
choice.
government is refusing to enforce. And by the way, that's not the same thing as Arizona. But a final question in my last minute. The Department of Justice did not assert privilege with regard to the transcript, correct?
That's right. The
And you
president-
articulated a minute ago to my colleague that the best evidence rule says that the transcribed copy is admissible, right? But how can you claim privilege in the face of not just a legislative inquiry, but a constitutional impeachment inquiry? How can you claim privilege for something that you just testified was effectively the same thing? How can you claim privilege for the audio of the transcript you just testified was the same?
I just testified the words are the same. Sensing an audio is different. You have not given any explanation, and there's nothing in the impeachment resolution that would make a difference with respect to
Well, I respectfully
audio.
disagree. I would ask you one last question. Is the decision not to prosecute President Biden for effectively the same crime for which DOJ is prosecuting President Trump, is it because DOJ has determined the president is not mentally fit to defend himself and stand trial for his crime, but former President Trump is?
I say again, that's an inaccurate description of Mr. Herr's report, and I would rest on Mr. Herr's report.
It's the only assertion he made. I
Point
yield
of
back.
order.